What's up? I'm John Middlekauff, host of the GoLow podcast. You can find it below in the description. Also, you're watching this on the Volumes YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, share it with all your friends. Okay, we are here with the man that started the Phil Mickelson press conference and who's live from Boston, Massachusetts for the U.S. Open. You can hear him every week, and I was listening yesterday with our man Michael Collins, 2 to 4, Sirius XM Radio, Action Network, covering gambling, writing about gambling, also podcasting, Links and Locks podcast. Jason Sobel, what is up, bro?
What's going on, John? I'm going to peel back that curtain, by the way, from the Phil Mickelson press conference that you mentioned it. I got there 10 minutes before it was going to start, and there were at least 60, 70 reporters stuffed into this little tent. I mean, I couldn't even get into the tent. I was on the grass behind it. And so one of my producers here at Sirius XM, one of my bosses, was like, "Hey, how we looking? We going to get them?" And I sent a picture, and the picture was just the back of 65 heads that were standing in front of me. And I'm like, not looking great. And so at some point I just kind of wiggled my way through, and I got a little closer, and a bunch of us kind of raised our hands and said we had questions. And they turned around, and the moderator basically handed the microphone to me, and I wasn't expecting to get the first one. I got a question out. It was fine. But all the ones after that, you know how it goes. Someone else asked a question. I should ask that. That would have been good. But I got the ice broken.
Well, I know. I don't know if you saw Koepka today's edgy about the LIV talk, but I hate to break the news to him. It's kind of a major story, and I think we need to start with Phil yesterday. You've been around the guy for a couple decades now, and my takeaway, Sobel, was for one of the most candid, golfers, athletes, or whatever. I consider Phil an athlete. One of the most candid individuals in sports for decades. Felt like a different human being, which is understandable. He's in a tough spot, but I felt like Phil, that was a different Phil Mickelson than as someone just from the outside who has been a fan of the guy for a long time. You've been around him. What was your take just watching him get peppered with questions?
Yeah, I know Phil's getting crushed for what he said. Look, I didn't expect anything different. Isn't this kind of what we knew was going to happen? That, okay, Phil's going to face the firing squad, but he's not going to fire back. He's not going to make too many admissions. He did say at one point, look, this is a chance for tremendous financial gain. And we all kind of know that. I've had a lot of people say, look, just say you're going there for the money. Just say you don't care anything about anything else. You're taking the money. I'd be better with that. And I suggested that, hey, if someone asks him a question, a reporter asks him a question, hey, what do you think about the Saudi Arabian government? What do you think about ties to this? What do you think about being a partner with them? And Phil goes, man, I don't care. I'm getting paid. That does not sound better. That does not make him look better in your eyes. Even if you think you want to hear him say that he's just doing it for the money, if you say you're just doing it for the money, it sounds way worse. So I get it. Look, I appreciate all the questions from my fellow reporting brethren. I thought there were a lot of really good ones, but I also appreciate the situation Phil is in. Look, he's there now. We have to live with it. He has to live with it. And I didn't expect him to answer those questions really any differently than he did. If you had given me, John, a list of all the questions and said, okay, fill in the blanks with Phil Mickelson's answers, I think I could have got 95%.
I would agree. You're on the grounds out there. What's the buzz regarding LIV from players and caddies?
Everybody's talking about it. I had one player tell me before, everyone's talking about it. It's when they start whispering about it that you go, shh. I got to hear what's going on here. I got to hear what these guys are saying. When there's whispers, all of a sudden you know that it's more than just gossip and rumor and innuendo about it. I had another player just tell me a little while ago. He said, when a player says he's not going to LIV, he might be going. When a player says he might be going to LIV, he's definitely going. So there's going to be a lot more defectors after this week. I think we're going to see a lot of bigger names moving over there. Look, they've got to fill out 48 spots in the field. They have unlimited funds. You and I have been talking about this here on the podcast for a while, and they just don't care. This is a game, I think, to the people that are running LIV Golf. Hey, what's the number for us to get so-and-so? All right, let's offer him that number and make him make that decision. And that's essentially what they're doing right now. It's going to fracture the game of golf. It's certainly hurting the PGA Tour, but this is the part we're at right now. And And look, I mean, I love what Justin Thomas said earlier this week, where he said, look, I'm not doing it, but I can understand it, but I also can't understand it. But I sort of can, but then I can't. And I go back and forth on this whole thing. I felt the same way this entire time, John, because I'm sitting there saying, no, you can't take the money. It's, it's coming from the Saudi Arabian government. They have a terrible human rights record. It's just not right. But boy, it's a lot of money and everybody has a price. And at some point, you've got to set up your family, your children, your children's children's children for generations to come. And you can do that by just taking the offer. And yet it feels wrong. And yet it kind of feels, it's sort of, as another tour player said to me, he's like, you feel really stupid if you would take this offer, but you almost feel dumber if you don't take the offer.
So do you think it's fair to say the Exodus, a lot of guys waited for this first event, let people take the firing squad for this event and then jump after the US Open? I mean, do you think, is there a chance we get 10 to 15 guys, or is this going to be that kind of group of, there's already the Varners, the Kokrak's. I mean, Bubba's injured, but I mean, in a couple more Euros fire over, any buzz of like any top, like, whoa, there's a name coming, get ready?
I've heard a pretty big, a second tier type of player who I think is going over there soon. I've heard a third tier type of player, and these are not the names that everyone else has heard. These are other ones that are out there. So yeah, there's going to be name players going over there, and a lot of them so far are in that back nine stage of their careers. They are 38 to 48 years old. They're getting ready for that next phase in their life. But I've heard that some young players are thinking about it too. I mean, what a life. You essentially, if you're 22, 23, 24 years old, you get paid nine figures, and essentially, I guess for the rest of your career, you just go out and play fun golf for lots of money and enjoy your life. I guess it's hard to say there's something wrong with that. It's hard to say, you shouldn't do that. You should be more competitive when these guys are getting paid, just millions and millions of dollars. I understand it, at least.
One thing I saw Bryson say this morning, on Tuesday morning, was he was asked if he still wanted to play in the PGA Tour. And he said, I would love to play Memorial. I would love to play the Arnold Palmer. And I talked to someone that might be in the know a little bit that said they're very confident that they're going to win this lawsuit. Yeah. And do you think Bryson thinks, because some of these guys, obviously, you're going to play the live events. It might expand. They're only doing 8 this year. A lot of people think it's going to go to 15 or whatever. But if I could still play the majors and Riv and the Memorial and the Arnold Palmer, whatever means a lot to me as a younger player, that could be a major, major blow for Jay and company, right?
I have spoken with people as well in the legal field who believe that these live players will win this lawsuit. They're independent contractors. And so, I mean, I might have said this to you on the pod last week or 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago. I don't know when it was. It's all kind of running together. But yeah, at one point, spoke with a friend of mine who's an attorney who said, look, this goes beyond golf. He said, if you look at it from a perspective of, an Uber driver isn't an employee of Uber. If an Uber driver works for that company, they can go work for Lyft as well. And you can't keep them from working for Lyft. And if they go work for Lyft, you can't say you can't work for Uber anymore because you're not an employee of that company. So he said, if this goes to the courts, the ramifications are wide sweeping, way beyond anything we're thinking about for professional golf. So we have to think about what precedent it would set. I do think that these guys are fairly confident. Reading between the lines of Phil Mickelson's press conference on Monday, I think Phil believes that if it comes down to it, he's going to win a lawsuit against the PGA Tour and be able to play some of these events.
So is it safe to say, just from being out there talking to these guys, did Greg Norman win?
He's getting there. He's getting there. I don't know that
he's not losing, right?
He's not losing right now. At what cost, of course. And again, it comes down to where the money's coming from and, whether it's a good thing. But yes, if Greg Norman,
I don't mean win from a moral standpoint. I mean from a golf standpoint. It's I think a lot of people, including myself, bet against this maybe 3-4 months ago. It is dramatically more impressive and going in the wrong direction for the PGA Tour than I ever would have imagined.
The original movie started 25 years ago, and it was, hey, the the big bad shark is going to come and, try to change the PGA Tour. And in the end, the PGA Tour won and they did their own thing and the movie ended. And now this is the sequel 25 years later. And the bad guy, the shark, is back with bigger, better friends of his trying to overtake the PGA Tour. And yes, it's working right now. Everything they're doing is working. And it's an unbelievable morality decision. I hope that there are college ethics classes which are studying this case right now, because it's fascinating to me. Because at some point you look at it from a global perspective, you look at it from a human perspective and say this, I get where the money's coming from. I get that this is sports washing. I get that I shouldn't do it. Then you look at it from the perspective of, but boy, they can give me more money than I'll ever make in my entire career on the PGA Tour, and they just hand it to me. I don't even have to work for it. Then I can go work for even more money. Charles Schwartzel got $4.75 million this past weekend for winning a 48-man event that no one really seemed that into. I mean, this is ridiculous money. At some point, where do the lines cross? And, it's like having a graph where, all right, my morality is here and my financial gain is here. When do they intersect? And when do I say, okay, that's enough money for me to drop my morals and my ethics? And again, I hope that there are classes out there studying this right now, because it's fascinating.
Do you agree with Koepka that this is putting a black cloud over this event, which is obviously probably beside the Masters, the biggest event we have in America?
I do, but I mean, I don't see any way around it. Look, this is the biggest news in the game right now. I said it on the radio show yesterday that, the USGA is absolutely hating this right now. First of all, they're left in the lurch as far as, hey, what are you going to do in the future? Are you going to let these LIV golfers continue to play in the US Open if they qualify? Or are you going to somehow try to cut them off? And they don't have world ranking points for these events now. So maybe they can't continue qualifying a lot of these guys, but there's a lot unknown still. And yes, it's taking away from a major championship. I get that, but look, we've just spent 15 minutes on the pod talking about it. We haven't even mentioned the US Open yet. There's a reason why we're talking about this. It's massive polarizing news right now.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. I guess before we get into some betting, your take, I mean, educated guess on how the majors, the RNA, obviously the USGA, the Augusta, the PGA, what their overall decision will be if these guys keep going at the rate in which they're going.
I think at the very least, the PGA Championship, US Open, and Open Championship will still allow qualified players to compete their championship, essentially because of what we said earlier. The legal statutes are it's going to be a lawsuit. It's going to be a legal issue. If you say to Phil Mickelson, who won the PGA Championship and is qualified for all the majors, you can't play next year, I don't see how they can get away with that. Now, the one that can, because of the qualification process, is the Masters, because essentially what Augusta National does, they don't let players qualify, they invite players, and they can invite whomever and whenever they'd like to invite them. If they decide they don't want to invite them, that's fine. Of course, there might be people at Augusta National who don't necessarily want to see where the money is traced from their own perspectives if they're going to criticize the players who are taking Saudi Arabian money as well. So there's so much more in play than you and I can even think of right now. But my guess is, I don't think any of the four block them, but the Masters is very, very intriguing again, because I don't think there are legal ramifications for that one, because they're invitations, not qualifications.